Good evening. The world is on edge tonight after President Donald Trump announced a significant military escalation against Iran. Late Saturday evening, in a move that has stunned the international community, the United States conducted a series of targeted airstrikes against three core facilities of the Iranian nuclear program. The targets, the heavily fortified Fordow fuel enrichment plant, the primary enrichment facility at Natanz, and the Nuclear Technology Center in Esfahan. The White House is calling it a necessary defensive action. Tehran is calling it an act of war and promising a crushing response. Tonight, we break down the operation, the high-stakes strategy, the international fallout, and the deep divisions this has already exposed right here at home. Let's first look at the military specifics of this attack. According to the Pentagon, the operation was carried out by B-2 stealth bombers, aircraft designed to be virtually invisible to enemy radar. Their payload was just as specific, the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, a 3,000-pound behemoth known as the bunker buster. This was especially crucial for the Fordow facility, which Iran built deep inside a mountain to protect it from aerial attack. The use of these highly specialized assets signals a clear message from Washington. No target is out of reach. In his address to the nation, President Trump framed the operation as a complete success. The strategic goal here appears to be a crippling blow to Iran's ability to enrich uranium, the key ingredient for a nuclear bomb. By hitting Fordow and Natanz, the U.S. targeted the heart of Iran's enrichment capabilities. The strike on Esfahan, a center for nuclear research and development, was likely intended to hobble their scientific and technical progress. Military analysts are suggesting this could set back Iran's nuclear timeline by several years. But this is a high-risk, high-reward gamble. The strategy is fraught with peril. The immediate question is not if Iran will retaliate, but how and where. Potential targets are numerous. U.S. troops stationed across the Middle East, allied nations like Israel and Saudi Arabia, or a disruption of the global economy by targeting oil tankers in the vital Strait of Hormuz. And there's no guarantee of long-term success. Iran could choose to rebuild, perhaps in secret, more dispersed locations, making any future military action even more complex. Even as the dust settles over Iran, a fierce battle is erupting here in Washington over the legality of the strikes. Internationally, the Trump administration has not presented public evidence of a specific imminent threat from Iran, which is the typical justification for an act of self-defense under the United Nations Charter. Domestically, the debate is even more intense. Critics are accusing the president of launching an act of war without the consent of Congress, a potential violation of the Constitution and the War Powers Resolution of 1973. Several lawmakers from both parties have voiced grave concerns. One Democratic senator called the strikes an unconstitutional act of war, while a leading Republican praised the president for taking decisive action. This deepens the constitutional crisis over who truly has the authority to take the nation into a conflict. The international fallout was immediate and predictable, splitting the world into clear factions. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was the first to offer praise, calling the U.S. action a brave and necessary step against a mutual enemy. But that's where the support largely ends. The United Nations Secretary General expressed deep concern and pleaded for maximum restraint. European Union leaders, caught between their U.S. ally and fears of a regional war on their doorstep, are urgently calling for diplomacy and de-escalation. Meanwhile, U.S. adversaries have been unequivocal. Russia and China, both permanent members of the UN Security Council, are expected to vehemently condemn the strikes and block any U.S. attempts to gain international legitimacy for the action. And then there is Iran itself. While state media has attempted to downplay the damage, officials have been anything but quiet, vowing a response that will be swift and severe. The rhetoric coming from Tehran suggests that retaliation is a certainty. The division abroad is mirrored by an even deeper chasm here at home. The announcement has cleaved the American political landscape in two. Supporters of the president are celebrating the strikes as a necessary show of force, a fulfillment of his promise to be tough on Iran. Many Republicans in Congress have rallied around him, framing this as a critical national security decision. But the opposition is equally passionate. A coalition of Democrats, anti-war activists, and some Republicans are warning that this is a reckless gamble that could drag the United States into another disastrous and costly war in the Middle East. Protests are already being organized in major cities from New York to Los Angeles, with many fearing the long-term consequences of this unilateral action. So, where do we go from here? The United States has crossed a line that previous administrations from both parties have shied away from. President Trump has rolled the dice, betting that a sharp, powerful military strike can solve the Iranian nuclear puzzle. The coming hours and days will be critical. The world now watches and waits for Iran's response. Will this audacious move lead to a safer America and a disarmed Iran, as the White House hopes? Or has the fuse just been lit on a new, far more dangerous conflict in the Middle East? The stakes could not be higher. Thank you for watching. We will continue to follow this developing story closely. Subscribe for updates as we get them.